Found Us. More podcast, where we want you to know God more deeply, find lasting freedom, discover your destiny and make an eternal difference. Now.
Well, good afternoon and welcome back to the podcast. Hey, I don't know if I told you this yet, but our network of podcasts is expanding.
It is?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
Rebecca Moore is going to be doing a podcast.
Rebecca Moore.
Yeah, who did the entrepreneurial Kingdom Entrepreneurs. I can't even
that was a great class. I took it.
You took it, yeah. I remember you were in there, and it was a pretty successful class.
Yes.
She's going to be doing a podcast, but it's going to be a little bit different than ours, obviously. But it's going to be doing testimonials of people.
Oh, cool.
And their faith journey. And so she's going to be probably talking to a lot of people in the church, interviewing people.
Yeah.
And getting them on the podcast.
I think that'd be great. She's a great presenter, and she has an inviting personality.
I think it's going to be good.
Yeah.
And now we just don't have our podcast. Now we have a network.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We have the Harbor Light
Where
Network.
2 or 3 gather together, you have a network.
That's right. We have a network now. Now we got to come up with a network name. I don't know. So welcome to this week's podcast. Do you ever wonder why you take the time each week to listen to more podcasts? Well, I'll tell you why. MORE stands for maximizing opportunities for right now and eternity. So stop asking why you listen. Just don't forget to listen and pass it on. Well, this episode has been brought to you by Party City Personalized Life-Size Cutout. Have you ever wondered what it would be like to be in 2 locations at once? Well, now you can. With Party City's easy website, you can now upload a favorite photo of yourself and have fun in 2 places at the same time. For only $75, you can get a 6-foot cutout, and now there can be more than one of you to make someone's life better. Do it today and send them a photo of you and watch the amazement in the eyes of those that love you.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
That is cool.
I mean, there's so many things we could do with this.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, could we do a life-size cutout of you and Lisa Kay?
I imagine we could. It would be interesting.
Yeah. I mean, just think of all the things we could do with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, we could do it for welcoming on Sunday. We could just set you guys out there.
Uh-huh.
And then if people want a photo op with a pastor,
sure,
then you just stand there next to your cutout and then,
yeah, that'd be good.
Here's Pastor Gary and Lisa Kay out there. I think that'd be so good.
Yeah.
And then
we should try it.
Yeah, we should try it. And then if they, if they want you at a party and you can't be there,
right,
send your cutout.
Yeah, we could just have rent a cutout. That'd be good.
It's a ministry.
Yeah. If
we make any money off it, it comes straight to the podcast. I'm just saying.
There we go.
We put it out there.
The original idea came from here.
Yeah, so you can rent this and take it to your party or banquet or whatever.
Now, this is before you started coming to Harbor Light.
Yeah.
I did a series on Jesus with You. And so I did a giant Jesus cutout.
Did you?
Yeah. And then I hauled Jesus around for an entire week and we videotaped it.
That's cool.
And I carried it with me, like right into the grocery store. I did it all. And people would come up and then they would get their picture taken with me and Jesus. It was really cool. It was an awesome series.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Ted and I, are going to Greece and Turkey.
Yeah.
So our idea is to take the little tiny Jesus that he has.
Okay.
And we're going to take pictures of little Jesus.
Yeah.
At different places.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So the plan would be to take them and set them at like a location and then, take a picture of Jesus.
That's nice.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Flat Stanley kind of thing.
Yeah. It's, remember the news review used to do that? Petoskey News Review, and then you get your picture taken with the paper.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of what we did with that Jesus thing too.
I like that idea.
Giant cardboard Jesus.
Do you still have it or did you?
I don't have the Jesus. I think I auctioned him off.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. Did I tell you that one time a couple years ago, I did a talk at school for their chapel.
Okay.
And I drew pictures to tell the story of the Good Samaritan.
Okay.
And so at the end of it, the whole joke was that basically I'm this, because they didn't really know me yet, and I'm this renowned artist, and so everything was stick figures.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, and so I did one with a donkey, and at the end I'm like, I'm going to auction these off to raise money for missions. And kids actually gave me donations.
Yeah.
For those pictures, one kid actually still has it. It's a donkey, and he had it in his locker, and he's like, I still have it.
Right.
He gave me, I think, $1 for it or something.
Nice.
It was hilarious.
Nice.
Yeah. Well, you've heard his voice across the far expanse of this table. The only man I know who is an Instagram influencer and doesn't even know how to use Instagram.
That's so true.
Pastor Gary. You're on there everywhere, man.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, of course, sitting across the table from me, the man with all the talent, knows what every button knob goes to and what it does. The man who, when he went to college, sat his dad down and said, "You're now the man of the house." There you go. Pastor Alex Norton.
Here I am. And it's never been that way ever since,
Yeah.
When I got married and I said, I am the man of this house. That's about as far as I got with it.
Really? Just the conversation.
I don't remember what happened after that. I remember waking up in my bed, tied down and told, you ever say that one more time? No, my wife is really good. My wife is, she's a respectful woman.
You have a great relationship.
We do. Let's take an ID break. Be right back.
Hungry for more? Chew on the More podcast. We've got more laughs, more surprises, and definitely more random facts than you can handle. Tune in and feed your curiosity.
Well, we got some tweets come in here while we've been sitting here. It's amazing how these are so relevant, even though a lot of times we get tweets way before the show.
Right.
But they are relevant. And I think apparently it takes, from when they send it, to go through our fax machine, then to get to us, it takes quite a while to get there.
Okay.
Because you've heard our machine.
Yes.
It's starting to sound pretty bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's still.
Definitely bottlenecks down on all that info, all that data coming in here.
I think last week we actually had to rev it up, pull the, it was, sounded like a little lawnmower motor. Hashtag Shrimp Pillow writes, Nikki won the Shrimp Pillow. I guess you could say she really knows how to celebrate in style. Oh, that's good. Celebrate, you get it?
So this must have been a dad that wrote that.
It had to have been, celebrate. Hashtag clucking protest. Pastor Alex, one of the Cluck North shirts going to be ready to pick up. Need my podcast swag. Yeah.
I wore mine at least once a week. So
yeah, you've had yours. Mm-hmm. I have quite a few shirts there, but apparently they have different color preferences. So I have those now in my car ready to print.
Okay.
I got to take them to the Oompa Loompas, but it takes up. I apologize, whoever this is, clucking protest about not getting them ready. I'll try to have them done for Sunday. It's just been one of those weeks, trying to get things done. I told you my son's coming home, right?
Yes.
From Indonesia, yeah. Mm-hmm. So his room has been a storage facility for the house because we don't have like a garage. We have that big tent thing, the 20 by 8 that you guys have in your back 40 there.
Yep.
So we have that, but that's full. Mm-hmm. And then we have this thing that's up on stilts. They call it, I remember what some weird name, but it's just basically a storage unit on stilts.
Really?
And that's in the back. It's actually pretty nice. Actually did well building it. And then we have a little tiny 10 by 10, but it's full of all Parker stuff.
Okay.
My oldest. So his room has been storage, and now he's coming home, and I'm like,
oh, yeah, I remember you telling me about
crud.
This. Yeah.
I got to get this all out of here. Right. At the same time, while Amy was on our last mission trip, I cut a massive hole in our hallway to move our wash machine and dryer over.
Oh.
And as I'm getting ready to move that over, I realized that I have the water heater in the way between where the wash machine and dryer is to where I need to move the wash machine and dryer.
Oh.
So I've got to move that over in the closet.
Okay.
And so, it's just, me.
Tetris.
Yeah. I when I see a challenge like that, I'm on it.
Right.
It doesn't take me a long time. It only took me a year to put the tile up in the kitchen.
Right.
But you
did a great job.
I did. I finally got that done. Let's take an ID break and we'll be right back.
Need more laughs in your day? Tune into the More podcast. It's so funny, you'll forget why you were even stressed. More giggles guaranteed.
Well, of course, when we talk about the news on this show, we don't like to use CNN, Fox, those kind of things, because they're biased.
Yeah, they're all tainted.
They're all tainted. And so, we go to, I think, probably one of the best news sources on the internet, which is Babylon Bee News. Mm-hmm. And we find the stories that we need to know on our podcast. And I was looking at the headlines that hit this today. Mm-hmm. And one of them is Mega Church runs contest where one lucky congregant will get to actually meet the pastor.
Wow.
Yeah, this is pretty good. This is kind of inventive, really, because, how hard is it, especially in a church? We got 500 people in this church. Mm-hmm. It's hard to get to the pastor sometimes. You got so many people.
Yeah.
After you've seen them after the service, run up to you, want to talk to you, and then before you know it, you get a line like Chick-fil-A waiting to get there, and you can't get a chance to talk to the pastor.
And like Chick-fil-A will have to have people like staged out there.
Yeah, right. What
are you going to ask them when you get up there?
That's right. Yeah, and you have to know exactly what you're going to say before you do it. Or we could do a press conference, but that's kind of difficult.
Right.
So Nashville, Tennessee, to boost morale among attenders and to create a buzz heading into the summer months, a local megachurch announced it would run a contest where one lucky congregant would get to actually meet the pastor. and its latest push to generate excitement in its congregation, the leadership team at No Cap Church in downtown Nashville decided to hold a lottery-style contest that would grant one humble churchgoer a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet lead pastor Devin Steele. He said, don't miss your chance to meet your pastor in person, said Starla James, No Cap's social media pastor, in a video posted to the church's Instagram account, which you don't know anything about, but it's an actual thing on the internet. Yeah.
Okay.
Have you ever wanted to actually talk to Pastor Devin? Well, this summer, we're holding a contest to find one lucky member of our congregation who will enjoy the life-changing experience of an impersonal meet and greet with No Cap Church's most important man, Pastor Devin. That's pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah.
And, that's an interesting.
It's a fundraiser.
Interesting. Yeah.
I mean, you've got to get creative. I mean, like we talked about last week, sponsorship.
Yep.
You know, this could be a good thing to.
You know what would work good?
Yeah.
Is to just get yourself a $75 Party City personalized life-size cutout, and then send it, and then the person could hang out with a cutout for the week.
The whole week.
You could do it. You could get multiple cutouts of the same, and then you could be in the life of 5, 6, 7 people every week.
And the pictures that we posted on social media be like, and here's Pastor Gary standing next to my boat, and here's Pastor Gary standing next to the kitchen. Right. It'd be the same facial expression, everything. Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah,
so you've always got to upscale whatever you're doing. You have to expand the market.
Oh yeah, and I think if you're looking to raise money for the church, I mean, we've got all kinds of ideas that we need to raise money for right now. Mm-hmm. This would be a good thing to do.
We've had an amazing week. I got to tell you. Yeah, I'm going to interrupt here just for a moment. We've got some campground projects going, and so we're putting in a retainer wall in this one area along the pole barn, and Jim Monti and the Monti Development Group went ahead and purchased for us all the block wall that we need to be able to put in there.
Oh, like the ones we have in the parking lot there.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's going to be beautiful. It's going to match everything else that we're doing. So that was super great.
That's awesome.
It's already on site. Going to get ready tomorrow to have that installed. And then we're putting in a new pad for the stage for the family camp service that we do out in the campground.
I like that.
And we were telling someone about that. And then Sal from Harbor Light, who's the construction guy that will put in the pad. He's bringing his whole crew out for free to do the work.
Oh, really?
And then his employer, Bubba Bosma, just went ahead and paid for all the concrete. So we have 2 big projects going, completely funded
awesome.
by the people at Harbor Light. We just have an amazing congregation that just loves to get in there and help out and make things happen. So it's so great.
I know.
We never have to announce it or anything. We just, they just heard about it, and then so they jumped on it.
I think that's awesome, because then we don't have to spend any money on any of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. I think that's the secret to our success here.
Yeah.
Right? Because other churches, they have to spend that kind of money, and they raise it and do it.
Yep.
We just seem to be blessed with people that can do it.
Yeah. And then, of course, my wife is an incredible giver, and I just love her so much. And so Wildwood Waters, which is her business, just donated, I don't know if it was like 200 yards of wood chips for the campground.
That's awesome.
So she's doing amazing.
That's right. Yeah. And so that will cover up all that dirt.
All the dirt, and it'll actually kind of level out some of the seating area for the service. So she's an amazing giver.
That is awesome. So so those are all things happening right now, and it's just amazing how we got people that are just so giving like that.
Yeah.
I can't talk enough about it. I mean, every time I turn around, like I see it a lot of times in the ministries, like the kids ministries and Amy's.
So I want to encourage anybody listening, if you are interested in camping out during family camp, which is in the middle of July. We have a great weekend where we all come and stay at the church campground and just hang out. It's a wonderful weekend. Great way to get to know new people.
Yeah.
And as we're saying, meet the pastor.
Yeah.
My wife and I will be there.
Oh, you're going to be there.
Weekend. Yep. We camp there, and one night we have all the grandkids sleep in the camper with us.
Yeah.
They sleep, we stay awake, and so it's kind of one of those deals. But family camp's a great place to get to know the new people at Harbor Light, and there are so many people coming in that I don't know everyone, and that's
true. Yeah.
It's just kind of not something I'm proud of, but I'm working on it.
Well, it's difficult, and even if sometimes Amy and I, a lot of times with other staff, will stand out in the lobby just to shake people's hands, just to get to see a face, right?
Sure.
And it is hard sometimes when I'm playing on stage the bass. I'll see people walking in, and I'm like, I've never seen that before.
Yeah, we have a lot of people coming for the first time. It's great.
It's hard when you get to that point, but that's why you have a staff, and then you have Amy, who is the resident CIA agent in our group that interviews everybody.
Yeah, it does a great job. So if we can get a Party City personalized cutout.
I like that
of
idea.
Our entire staff would be great.
That would be perfect. Yeah, just set them out there.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect. Well, you know what? Now you're giving me an idea. I don't know. That's I don't have the budget for it. Might have to come out of worship or something else. So
okay.
Yeah, but we should do that. Let's take an ID break and we'll come right back. We want you to know God more deeply. Find lasting freedom, discover your destiny, and make an eternal difference. More podcast. All right, again, we have some tweets that have come in here. Hashtag baptism fun. Rumor has it that if we request arm floaties for the baptism this Sunday, they are provided.
Yes,
it's a rumor. Okay,
they're official Harbor Light arm floaties.
Oh, they are. Okay, so probably like a burgundy with the Harbor Light insignia on there.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you need them, just ask one of the ushers there. Say I'm afraid to drown in the bathwater, which I affectionately call it the baptism from Wish. Because it is a lot smaller than what we had before. Because we can get into the other baptism. This one, you have to stand outside of it to do the baptism. And then sometimes if we have people that are, a little taller, we have to kind of crunch them in there and push them in a little harder.
Yeah.
And tell them, this doesn't mean anything. It's just we're just trying to get you covered in the water. Yeah.
Well, it's an automatic. I'm praising the Lord when you're under, but your arms are still up.
Yeah, right.
Because of the floaties are holding up in there. That's how it works.
Yeah, praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Last one here. Hashtag honey is a rock. It's a rock. Noticed on my drive by the church, we have our very own gold nugget. Solid Rock has just upped its game, apparently.
Yeah, we have a giant nugget, gold nugget out there.
Do we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a senior class prank.
Okay, yeah.
Which we discourage greatly.
Yeah.
But they brought in a skid steer off of a trailer and then loaded a giant gold rock that says class of 2024 on it and put it right there in the parking area.
I like it, yeah.
And so we're going to actually roll with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to move the rock down to the playground area. And then every year, if they'd like to paint the rock, that's great. But we're not going to put it in the parking area.
So you can make that kind of like the ongoing thing. So
yeah.
Don't have to damage
I know that's
the building.
pretty common at different colleges that they do it. My son's college, they had a giant rock that was painted every year.
I heard about a prank that happened with your daughter that involves a vehicle being put in the hallway?
Yes. So...
He's like, well, let's go to a news break.
Right.
We'll be right back. Yeah.
I was loosely involved with that when I heard rumor what the prank was going to be because my daughter was... And they were going to put the car inside the sanctuary in the middle of the sanctuary.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, that's not a good idea. That's about a $200,000 floor.
Yeah, right.
We don't want to ruin that. And so I persuaded them to put it in just one of the hallways.
Yeah.
We pull it in the double doors, which was all cool, and so I helped them out a little bit on that one.
Yeah.
And the idea was, everybody comes in and laughs a little bit, and then you just back it out and you're good.
Yeah, you can get it out of there.
Unfortunately, the person that did it, took their keys with them and then went on a weekend trip. So the car was in there for more than an hour while we had to go to their house and get the spare keys.
That is hilarious.
Which I took the blame for.
Yeah.
There was a policy we don't lend out our keys, but because I did, I had to clean the toilets here at Harbor Light for a week.
Did you really?
I did. I self-imposed a punishment on myself.
Yeah.
But it was a lot better than putting the car in the middle of the sanctuary.
What kind of car was it?
It was just like a little Festiva or something. Just a
tiny,
real small car.
Real tiny. Get in there, yeah. But it was together. I mean, you didn't have to put it together in the building.
No.
You
just drove it right in, parked it, and then in the morning when the
Yeah,
so
you
that was involved in that one. But
probably could still find the skid marks down there somewhere, right?
Yeah.
As you're pulling it in. I mean, those are just memories now. You know, I like that. I mean, kudos to you, man. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, don't have any of the kids try this at home, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that's a good one. You know,
we did have a prank a number of years ago where some students stole a billboard, the wrap, and they put it on the roof here at Harbor Light.
Oh, really?
Which turned out not so good for them because that was they were vandalizing and stealing.
Oh, so
so the police got called and they got in trouble for that.
Dang. My group, I just want to say that my graduating class, we did not. I think the only thing that we tried to do was a few of us got a ear piercing.
Okay.
As kind of like a thing. We're going to wear it on graduation day. And then Mr. Kapocek, Mr. K, was the principal.
Sure.
And he's like, if you wear the ring, your diploma booklet will be empty.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, I won't put it in there. And so we had to take him out. So it was a few of us that did that. That's a prank, you know.
Yeah.
Because I never wore it after that. I never, you know.
So you get it pierced for one day?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, you kind of do that kind of stuff when you're a kid. You're like, this is so funny. And then now I still have the hole in my ear, even, 30 plus years later.
Seriously?
Yeah, it hasn't gone away.
Wow.
So it's, note to self.
Yeah.
When you're trying to come up with a prank, it could follow you for the rest of your life. Let's take an ID break. We'll be right back.
Hungry for more? Chew on the More podcast. We've got more laughs, more surprises, and definitely more random facts than you can handle. Tune in and feed your curiosity.
I never noticed that commercial that there was finger snapping in there.
Yeah.
Did you do that?
No.
You have such great timing. I mean, you could do it.
Yeah, that it's like we've been introducing our church to quite a bit. Is a lot of AI stuff,
right?
Like the Cluck Norris shirts.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm just gonna put it out there. They were created by AI.
I'm surprised. I thought you'd hand drew those yourself.
I'm not that good.
Okay.
And then the voices for the Wednesday Night Live.
Yes,
obviously, I did not hire actors from Britain to do those. They were AI.
Pastor Ted's one was the best.
That was so good.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that guy, I mean, I want to go to the class just to see if that guy shows up again. You know, just it's so good. Let's get into the Rapture Ready news. Get Rapture Ready with your favorite host today, Pastor Gary and Pastor Alex Norton, as they come to you with information that you need to make it through the times coming ahead and more.
For anyone that knows our podcast, Pastor Alex just took a drink during this commercial like he does every week.
I have to. Okay. I have to, yeah. Because it, you start getting the,
you got to get your voice in it locked in.
Or a cough, yeah. What was I just going to say? Oh, I had something in my head I was going to tell you.
Sorry.
Well, let's look at the stuff that's happening around this whole idea of the Trump verdict. This has been shocking for a lot of people, especially Christians that have really hitched their wagon to the fact that he's going to be the next president, which is fine. I'm not saying it's wrong or anything. But it's interesting how the church has chimed in on this situation. And, I think... we take a limited approach to the politicians and stuff, even though we've had one speak here. But we try to be very careful, obviously, not to turn the stage that we have for preaching the gospel into a political stage. But we still have our opinions, and it's interesting as a church, the whole church in the United States, how they've really been affected by it. And so I found 5 evangelical reactions to Trump's guilty verdict, and these are pastors and well-known people in the church that gave some comment on their Twitter. What is it, X or something now?
Sorry. Yeah. Yes.
I can't. Twitter. What is it? Twitterist. It's a Twitterist here. Reverend Franklin Graham.
Take your tweeter and get out of here.
Get out of here, man. Now it's just X, which is weird.
Okay.
Graham added, he said, what we saw today has never happened before, and I think for the majority of Americans, it raises questions about whether our legal system can be trusted. Pray for our nation, for God's guiding hands, that this republic will be one nation under God with liberty and justice for all. I mean, this... it's pretty good.
Like the way he just quoted the very issue in which is at hand.
Yeah, right. And I'm glad he got this right. We are not a democracy. We are a republic.
Correct.
And I'm glad that he wrote that in there, because I've even heard Republican congressmen calling it a democracy. I'm like, you people should know better.
Right.
Yeah, we're a republic.
Right. A democracy, it's mob rule. It's 51%. Gets to call the shots.
Right.
And our founding forefathers put together our republic so that even the small person, even the small group can be represented, but not that small group then can't dictate where the whole thing goes. Right. So everyone is represented, not just the 51%. So that's why we have a republic. That's why it's important.
That's why the electorate is important, not the electorate, but electorate.
Yes.
Another one, Tony Perkins. Tony Perkins is the president of the Evangelical Conservative Advocacy Group Family Research Council, which I'm probably sure you've heard that somewhere on the radio. He shared his thoughts on the verdict in an X or Twitter post Thursday. He said, "Our republic only thrives when justice is blind. It dies when justice is blinded by politics and power."
Wow.
This is a sad day for our republic. And, honestly, that's really what happened in that case. The 34 judgments against Trump. There was nothing there to say that he did anything wrong. Although I'm still trying to confuse. I'm pretty confused as to how they were brought to be indictments against him, because there's nothing there. And that's what I'm really confused about. Like, how can you sentence somebody to being guilty when there's nothing there to say that they're guilty about? Because the whole thing with him and Stormy Daniels, that was thrown out. So I'm really confused about that. I don't know.
Yeah, because we live in a world of accusation. Okay, so you're guilty until you can prove yourself to be innocent, which is the opposite of what it should be. And second of all, we are a part of a place where we're all just governed by feelings.
Yeah.
What do you feel about it? And apparently, if Fox is correct in their reporting, basically the judge just said, go with what you feel.
Yeah. Yeah. And he's still under a gag order, which is interesting. After everything happened, he's still under a gag order. Doesn't make any sense to me. Jack Graham posted on X as well. Senior pastor of Prestonwood Church in Plano, Texas, which is a very large church, delivered a message to his followers on X Thursday. He says, "Everyone, take a deep breath. Pray and ask God to deliver justice to America after the sham of a trial in NYC." He said, "There is so much at stake, including the future of our legal system and the Constitution of our nation." I think I tend to agree with that, because I've heard many times that now we've created an environment where people do not trust the justice system.
Well, and also, if this takes precedence, then all of a sudden now every person who's in charge will just have the tendency to lock up and incriminate their opponent. And that's that's what happens in every third world country and dictatorship and all that kind of stuff. So we're going in the wrong direction, folks.
Then they call it a banana republic style. And when we saw that happen in India, they just had their elections, and it's basically the same thing. The guy brought charges against his opponent and basically got him, just off the ballot and took control. So yeah, we see it happen. Shane Claiborne, he's probably one of the most interesting out of all of them. While most statements coming from the evangelical community indicated support for Trump or opposition to the charge against him, evangelical author Shane Claiborne's reaction to the verdict reflected a different point of view. Claiborne declared in an X post on Friday morning that no one is beyond redemption, not even Donald Trump, sort of assuming the fact that maybe Donald Trump is guilty. Where there's smoke, there's fire kind of thing.
That could be, or it was a little play on words, a little where no one's above the law, not even Donald Trump.
Yeah.
And so it was probably a little poke at that. No one's above the law, no one's beyond redemption. So it was probably more of a little play on words.
Let's hope that.
Yeah.
Because I don't, for me, I mean, even if I wasn't a Republican, I would look at this whole thing and go, there's a problem here.
Lots of, there were apparently many of the left-leaning news agencies and media were also saying this is not good. This is not good. So I think everyone I think who is going to live beyond feelings and use their their mental capabilities to be able to look and say, well, if it can happen to him, it can happen to me.
Right. Yeah.
And I think people are recognizing that.
Well, it'll be interesting to watch this trial that's going against Hunter Biden right now, how that's going to play out.
Exactly.
Because he's actually got things going on.
Yeah. And, guilty as all get out and, by his own admission.
Right, yeah.
And we'll just see if it gets thrown out. And that's going to be probably the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
That if you're a person of power and position, then you can get off on anything, and then you can actually use it to attack your opponents. And so it's just going to be, I have this feeling in my heart that he's going to be let off. He's going to be acquitted.
I think so too. And even though there's so many smoking guns in the case, it's unreal that even that computer that happened a couple of years ago they found
3
years ago. Yeah, they found all that stuff. And that guy, I found out that he had to actually shut his business down because he was having so much flack from the left-leaning people in his community that he had to shut his business down, all because he accepted that it wasn't even his fault. He accepted a laptop to work on and then found other stuff on there he probably shouldn't be looking at. Called the FBI, and next thing you know, he's in trouble.
Yep.
Paula White, which is the last one here, which we're all familiar with because she did this speech at Donald Trump's inauguration and the prayer at Donald Trump's inauguration, and she also was part of the prayer team that went into the Oval Office after he became president. Paula White, who served as the spiritual advisor to Trump during his tenure, she wrote on Thursday, "It's a sad day for all Americans as we watched firsthand the judicial system weaponized to go after President Trump for political gain," which is, I think, probably what we're all saying at some point. It just seems like everything from the judge to the jury was doing what probably we would not think should have happened,
Right.
I'd be interested to actually listen to an interview with the jury to find out what was the thing that just put you over the edge on all 34, like everything you saw.
Well, of course, what was reported is that they could just pick one of the areas.
Yeah.
And say, you know what, I think he's guilty on that one area. And so then they add them all together. And so, just by being a part of the same trial, they're like, everything's, that doesn't seem like justice to me. Let's take an ID break, and we'll come right back with the big question.
Need more laughs in your day? Tune into the More podcast. It's so funny, you'll forget why you were even stressed. More giggles guaranteed.
Well, we had our big winner last week, Nikki McCune, who won the shrimp pillow.
Yes. Yeah. Did she get it?
She did not. She wasn't here last Sunday.
Dang.
But I have it still ready to go.
Nikki, come get this.
I know. It's
like seafood. It starts smelling after 3 days.
It's starting to smell in my office. We've got the shrimp pillow for her, so when she's ready to pick it up, we have it. And then also, we are going to be selling the Collect North shirts, but we're also going to add the podcast T-shirts for $15 a piece.
Okay.
So you can get one of our old podcast shirts that we had from last winter.
Okay.
That's available. And the Collect North shirts.
Nice.
The Collect Norths are $20, and the podcast shirts are $15.
Okay.
And you can wear our mugs around town. And Leslie Budnick wore her podcast shirt to church a couple Sundays ago.
I heard.
Yeah.
I heard about that.
That was pretty cool. But if you want to be a part of the excitement that we have here with the big question and win some amazing prize like the shrimp pillow, all you have to do is answer the question that Pastor Gary is going to put out there today and send it to HarborLightBibleTrivia@gmail.com, HarborLightBibleTrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase, and let us know your answer. And, this last one that you did, a lot of people answered it. They quoted scripture in there.
Well, it was a main point that we brought up on Sunday is that when you become a citizen of heaven, you also become a member of the family of God. And so the answer was membership or member of the family of God, which is an amazing concept to realize that I am a person that now is a kingdom person.
Yeah.
But not only that, but I'm a part of the royal family, and that brings along a lot of wonderful imagery to our walk with Christ. And so we are excited about being able to share that. This particular week, we're going to get ready to conclude the series, Living in the Kingdom Now.
No.
Yes.
4 weeks now.
It was a 4-weeker.
Yeah.
And it was actually originally a 3-weeker. And I had my wife talked into 3 weeks. And then I'm like, well, let's go one more. And she's like, I'm not too sure. I'm like, more. And so she's going to join me again.
Well, it's good because people love it.
Yes, people do. And we've gotten lots and lots of encouragement in that she's doing a great job.
Yes, she is.
And we even went to a funeral on Monday and ran into some Harbor Light people there.
Yep.
And they were just so proud of Lisa Kay and how good she's doing. So one more. And we're going to be concluding the series now on the keys to the kingdom. And this is found in Matthew chapter 16. And so my question for today is, what is it that, or where is it that you can bind something and it will be loosed? And where can you loose something and it will be
Loosed. Yeah.
Right.
Bind and loose.
Binding and loosing.
Yeah.
But where's the location for the binding and loosing taking place?
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
You want both locations or just one
both,
or the other?
let's do both locations.
Okay, both locations.
Both locations, binding and loosing, that is found in Matthew chapter 16.
I love it. Okay.
It's part of the keys.
So if you know the answer to this, you can send it to HarborLightBibleTrivia@gmail.com, HarborLightBibleTrivia@gmail.com, all lowercase, and answer it. And then your name goes into the magic Wilson insurance hat that basically creates all the dreams that we have here on the podcast.
Right.
That's you get a shrimp pillow if you get the name pulled.
Fantastic.
So a lot of different things. Somebody won a plaque that Pastor Gary had handmade.
Yep.
And so, there's all kinds of things that we give away for the big question. So just, don't sit back and go, I don't know if I should answer that question. Send it in and I'll tell you if you're close or not. And then, it's not like if you send one in and it's wrong, you can't send another one in. You can get it right. And we'll put you in the magic Wilson insurance hat to create one of your next memories with something that we give away. Yeah, right. We always do that. So we're going to take an ID break, come right back with Bible Talk. And Pastor Gary, he's getting ready right now.
It's time to saddle up for more podcast.
Well, today in Bible Talk, Pastor Gary and Lisa Kay are on their third week in this latest series that they've done on living in the kingdom now. And last week, primarily, it was talking about how countercultural our kingdom is to the world we live in. And then basically looking for why and how. I mean, what does it look like in Scripture? What does the Bible talk about being countercultural in the kingdom that God has called us to? And Pastor Gary and Lisa Kay brought up some really, really interesting things. Some really funny stories. I got to tell you, some of them are pretty funny. It's funny when you two get together. It's funny because you'll say something and Lisa Kay will be like, well, you know what? This is really what happened.
Right.
And then she's
always going to clarify.
Yeah. And I think it's hilarious. That's mainly why I don't do those kind of things with my wife. Right. I'd be in trouble.
Yeah. Well, we've discovered this about ourselves after all of our years of doing ministry together. I'm a truth teller, so I don't lie. But I do have the ability to make a story even better.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
To emphasize certain aspects of the story. And so sometimes those aspects might be askew, and she just always brings clarity to maybe something I've enhanced. But I'm not a liar. Everything I tell you is the truth. Yeah. But it is fun, and she does a great job on that, helping me out with that. But
you forget, certain details. I mean, that's the way it is with me too.
Yeah.
Like I'll forget the person and I'll put somebody else in there that I think it was. Yeah. And then I'm like, wait, you're right. I wasn't that person.
This is something that's happened, and this has happened a couple of times at Harbor Light. Again, truth teller, but sometimes I'll add 2 or 3 stories together, and it becomes like a super amazing story, but it's actually 2 stories, but I've somehow sandwiched them together into one story. And she'll sometimes clarify that as well.
The intention is not to...
Right, no, never.
Never. I mean, I've been there. I think as you get older, those kind of things just kind of all merge together.
Yeah, and you've probably heard me mention that I'm going to be writing, my next book is going to be kind of like Adventures with Pastor Gary.
I like it.
And going all the way back to my childhood, some of the things that have happened in my life that have been great and wonderful in story form. And so I have actually like 2 notebook pages full of just titles of stories that I'd like to start writing.
I think it'd be great.
It would be a lot of fun.
That's going to be a good one. So that's going to be coming out probably another year or 2.
Yeah. Usually when I go to write, one of the books that I've written, it's a 5 a.m. start time every day for 2 or 3 weeks, and I'll just get up for a couple of hours early before the normal day gets rolling and just write, and that helps get it out there.
Yeah, because it is, we have other authors in the church, and I've heard them talk to me about how difficult it is to do that, because you may have a game plan like you're talking about each chapter.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it is very difficult to, sit down and start coming up with those words, even though you know the story. Mm-hmm. Yeah, kudos.
We have a young lady that goes to Harbor Light who is a professional author. Mm-hmm. She makes her living doing that, and she has to storyboard it and all this. It's a quite when you're going to write for a career move, you can't just sit down and whip out a book.
No.
It's got to be pretty tough. But I have lots of categories that I can be able to use. My idea, I don't know if I told you about this, but my idea is to sit down with somebody for a month, have breakfast every morning together, and just let me tell stories, and we'll record it and use that as a part of the transcript, or at least the baseline of the story.
That's perfect. Yeah. And you can write from that.
If you know who Joe Lucier is, right?
Yeah.
Way back, Joe Lucier and I did a 40 Days of Purpose book together, the Rick Warner book, and we had breakfast every morning. We did breakfast 5 mornings a week through the 40 days.
Wow.
So I had chocolate chip pancakes every morning, 5 days a week, picked up 25 pounds, and we read through the book together.
Yeah. And now you've got a better purpose.
Yep.
You got to lose the weight now. Yeah.
Yep, purpose-driven breakfast.
I've been trying to lose the 25 pounds I gained.
Yeah.
And that's my purpose now. So you talked about this idea of countercultural things. You gave different aspects and you gave a whole litany of scriptures that help explain the difference.
So one of the big concepts, of course, is that, and this was a life giver for me on this past message, that Jesus is the King of the kingdom.
Yeah.
But he also is the kingdom. He's the representation of the kingdom as well. But then now that we are believers and we have Holy Spirit presence inside of our lives, now the kingdom is inside of us.
Yeah.
That's a really big concept. So the kingdom, we started off by talking about the difference between the now kingdom and the not yet kingdom. Mm-hmm. And that's a really big concept. And that was one of the things that caused confusion amongst most of the people during the times of Jesus, is he would be talking about the not yet kingdom, and they would get confused because they were wanting it to be the now kingdom. And then he would be talking about the now kingdom, and they get excited, and then he would be referencing something in the not yet kingdom. And so that can be very confusing, but it's very foundational and a bedrock of our faith, because of the kingdom being in us, active amongst us. But then there's also the 1,000-year reign of Christ, which is a part of his kingdom where he establishes it. And we talked about the Isaiah 9:6 verse. It's the Christmas verse. For unto us is born a baby boy, and that's the right now kingdom at work. And then it goes on, and the government will rest on his shoulders and be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Prince of Peace. That's all future or not yet kingdom. And so in one verse you have both the now and the not yet kingdom. So that's where we got started, and I think establishing that helped at least people understand where the confusion can come in and some of the difficulty of being able to sort through it in our minds. So that was, I think, a good place to get started.
I like that fact that you're helping explain that, but you've done that through the whole series pretty well. I've enjoyed that, because excellent use of helping people understand the connection between things in Scripture. Mm-hmm. Because I think sometimes I'm reading a book about who Jesus is, and it's talking about the messianic passages in the Old Testament and how they relate, and it's interesting how even they were super confused.
Yes,
how they were presented, and you're like, are we talking about your son Isaiah, or are we talking about the future king of the Jesus?
So one of the concepts that I did kind of mention is that anytime our culture is all flowing in one direction, that should be a warning sign. To stop and at least look around and figure out what's going on, because almost always Christianity is countercultural. You take a look at the first century Christians, a big plague breaks out in the Roman Empire. Millions of people are dying of the plague, and everyone is just taking dead bodies and chucking them out the second story window into the street. It was the Christians who went out and picked up the dead bodies and then disposed of them correctly, which was countercultural, right? And then and some of those Christians died from the plague because they caught it by doing a good work. And then, of course, that in the Roman Empire as well, if they had too many children, or if they just didn't want a kid, they would take them to the dump and leave them out there to die of exposure. And it was the Christians who went against culture, and they went out and gathered up those babies and took them home and raised them as their own. So almost always Christianity is going to fly in the face of the wave, of the current, of the flow of the way that the whole world is going. And we cannot be afraid of that. And we have to do that with a sense of calling and a sense of purpose and a sense of authority, that we've been called to do the opposite of what the world does, even if it comes at our own cost or our own peril. And so that's inspiring for us, and it should give us a sense of hope that this has been going on for 2,000 years.
Yeah, and I think that, when, like you said, if everything's going in the same vein, same flow, and you're not wanting to figure out why is this happening? Why does it seem like everybody's on the same page as I am? Those are questions that you should be asking Holy Spirit to say, where am I at? Mm-hmm. What exactly in my life am I negotiating away for the sake of what I think is the norm of everything? Those are things kind of make me a little nervous, because the truth is, Jesus even said of himself, I do not come to bring peace. I come to bring a sword to divide the mother and the father, and it's just the mere nature of the gospel is going to cause division, because you have people that believe it and people that don't.
Right.
And so that is going to be a problem for you. I mean, I don't care how you try to frame it and make it work in the world we live in, but the truth is that's exactly what it will do.
Yeah.
And Jesus warned us of that. He said it's going to happen that way, so just be prepared for it.
Absolutely.
Doesn't mean that we should not live at peace, but Paul says be at peace with all men. So we should be living at peace, but the fact is that the gospel message itself is going to bring division.
Yeah. I kind of joke around with some of my friends that anytime our government, both sides of the aisle, stands up and applauds at the same exact time.
Oh yeah.
Get a little nervous. That seems a little weird.
Yeah, right. They've never done that before.
And of course, with some of the Fauci being on examined here recently, in the past week, I've heard multiple people kind of reflecting back on what we went through in 2020 and 2021 and 2022. Some of the crazy stuff. So you're going to fly in the face of culture, even in a situation like a pandemic. And let me tell you, I had multiple conversations, some very uncomfortable conversations at that particular time. And if we as believers and we as a church would have just went along with everything, then we would be suffering for that now, I believe. But because we were afraid to stand up against what we know is wrong, when that gives us some hope, right?
Churches are still dealing with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you did, but when I did 3 funerals during that pandemic, and all of them were outside a window of a rest home, they wouldn't let you be near their loved one.
Right.
And I just remember, I think I've said it before. Most of my day was counseling the family that could not, get to their parents. Dealing with that whole thing. And so and then now you hear what's going on with Fauci, and he's like, he didn't have any proof for the mask. He didn't have proof for the 6 feet distancing. He didn't have proof for any of this stuff. And it's like, you put us through living hell for 3 years and destroyed businesses. I remember reading an article from Michigan. 8,500 businesses had to shut down in Michigan because of the pandemic, because they couldn't keep their doors open, and they were not going to have enough money to restart them after everything was opened up again.
Yeah.
So, those kind of situations are terrible, but the church, it was an interesting wake-up call for the church, and you've talked about this before in great detail, but that we would bow to those things simply because, the government told us to do it, and boy, we won't find ourselves there again, hopefully.
Yeah.
I think a lot of churches are like, this is not going to happen again.
If you come out and watch the Letter to the American Church that we're going to show on June 19th, we're going to touch on some of this very, very stuff that the church, that was the moment the church needed to stand up and be countercultural.
Yeah, I wish I was here. I'm going to be gone.
That'll be good.
Yeah, so I'll have to watch it after everybody has watched it. So I wanted to talk about this idea of being countercultural, because living countercultural as a Christian, often involves embracing values and behaviors that differ significantly from the prevalent mainstream, which you just said. So what are some key aspects that we can begin to use? And I wanted to look at those things sort of like a litmus test for us. Like, are we thinking this way, or do we need to work on this aspect of our thinking? And the first one is prioritizing God above all else. And, in Mark chapter 12, verse 30, it gives this idea, but Christians are called to love God with all their heart, soul, mind, and strength, which often means making decisions in our faith that are going to be countercultural to the people around us. I don't know about you, but do you think that's on the rise better? We're going more towards the positive, that's prioritizing differently?
I think maybe, I I'm not tapped into a lot of different churches and what's happening in those places. At Harbor Light, I definitely sense that people are being made aware of the fact that they need to spend some time with the Lord, let him guide them, and then follow him with a commitment to whatever word it is that he gives us. And so, we talked about this last week, that there's eternal kingdom stuff, and then there's temporal kingdom things.
Right.
And when a person takes you to court and demands your shirt, you give them your coat as well. The only thing they can take from you is, temporal stuff. You can't take eternal things from you. If you lose your coat and you lose your shirt, you can get another one.
Yeah.
Right. If the Lord wants you to. And it's all stuff that can be replaced. It's the eternal things. And so I think when you prioritize God, it helps you to put the temporal things in their place, so that when it does fly in the face of culture and it's countercultural and you lose those things because they're going to take it away from you, they try to punish you for not going in the flow. It's okay, because I'm serving the Lord. He's my priority.
Yeah. Yeah, I love how you said that, because, the truth is, it is a love situation with God, our relationship of him being the one that we put our hope and trust and everything else in, our eternity, our future, our purpose. And, when we allow things to come in to redefine those areas of our life simply because that's the now thing to do, whatever it is, the now moral majority, or the not moral majority, but the majority, the mob, supposed moral, we begin to realize that, is this what I believe lining up to this, and should I allow it to be a part of my life? And in the scripture, it's amazing, will always help us make those decisions very quickly, because we realize that what God requires of us is not what the group, the mob, is saying. And, for me, it's interesting that you have to sometimes go a long ways to validate some of your opinions in life that don't line up with scripture, simply because you want to be a part of the majority.
Yeah, that, I think you just touched on the key to why is it always we want everybody to do this. When everybody is forced to do something, then it kind of makes you feel good that you're not by yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And everybody else is doing it. It's the same argument you had when you were a teenager.
Oh, right, yeah.
And then your mom's like, yeah, if they jumped off a cliff, would you? Well, if there was deep enough water, I would do it.
Yeah, right.
But, the idea is sometimes we get everybody to do it. Therefore, I don't have to stand out alone.
Right.
And then I'm, so that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah, very dangerous. The other one is when you start loving others selflessly, which we kind of talked about in the first one, this idea that, we get to a place of loving other people like Christ called us to love, and in Mark chapter 12, verse 31, it says, Jesus taught us to love our neighbors as ourselves.
Yes.
Even to love one's enemies. And so the selfless love can stand in stark contrast to a culture that often prioritizes self-interest, which we see a lot today. And, Jesus said they'll know my disciples by love. And I think it doesn't necessarily mean it's blind love or love that just kind of covers a multitude of sins. But it's a love where we extend the same grace that was given to us in those situations to bring people into the kingdom, right?
Yeah. Lisa Kay talked about it on Sunday, that you have to be a long haul thinker to be able to do this. So when you're able to love and demonstrate that love, and it costs you something, realize that the Lord can replace those things, as we just said, the temporal versus the eternal. And so I like John 3:16. God loves us, sent his son. 1 John 3:16, we demonstrate God's love towards other people.
Yeah.
I love that.
That is really good. Yeah. So, loving people is good. It's good in the sense that we learn to love in a different way. Yeah. Because God redefines love for us. Love is not selfish, it's selfless, which is a new concept to humanity. I mean, we have to learn
that long haul thinker delays gratification.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And that's a giant concept for all of us, both inside the church and a kind of like spot on, the culture around us. They want to fulfill any kind of gratification instantly. That's almost their goal. And we are called as believers to, to hold off on that, to suspend that gratification, because what we do in this life is reflected in what we're going to be doing in the next.
Yeah, very true.
The next one is eternal. This one is not.
Yeah, you only get what, maybe 70. It's so bad.
The scriptures say 70, right? And if you're really blessed, you'll get 80.
Yeah, I was just reading an article from New York Times, and the average lifespan of an American man now is 72.3 years.
Okay,
so I don't know what that says.
It definitely helps you as you're approaching that age to realize this eternal stuff is way more important than temporal, right?
Yeah.
You start unloading all your stuff onto your kids.
Yeah, right. Here you go. Take it. Another one. You know, this is going to be interesting that we're talking about this countercultural thing right now, and then we're going to go into September in your new series, which is the Bait of Satan series.
Yes.
To go to this countercultural idea, which is being a person of forgiving others. You know, forgiveness is sort of this, it is the central tenet of the Christian community in Matthew 6. You know, in a world where, you know, holding grudges and seeking revenge can be a common thing around us, Christians are encouraged to forgive and not to hold grudges and not to take offense against everything.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Pastor Alex, you and I are both very excited about this series coming up.
I'm super excited.
That'll be taking place in September. This is, I believe wholeheartedly, that this is going to be a turnaround point for many people at Harbor Light to realize that we're called to be a community that forgives, and we don't take up other people's offenses, and we don't become so easily offended, and we know how to deal with offenses. It is going to be a life changer.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a congregation changer.
I'm thinking as I've been praying with you about this too, is I think there are going to be a lot of people that are going to be set free.
Yes.
Of the bondage of offense and not allowing forgiveness to take control of their life. And they're going to begin to see something in their life they've not seen in a very long time.
Those that lead our Free Life ministry better be ready. I think we're going to get, you know, in the words of Pastor Matt, a shipload of people coming into Free Life.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I can see that totally happening because people are going to realize that I've been holding on to garbage about even somebody in our own congregation for years, you know, and that I just never have dealt with it.
Can you imagine the spiritual water level is going to go up so drastically?
Oh, yeah.
As we unload this, you know, shipload of stuff that we've been carrying.
I think it's going to be exciting. I can't wait to see it happening. You know, here's another one. Being countercultural requires us to live with integrity. Proverbs 12:22, it tells us that Christians are called to be honest and upright, avoiding deceit and dishonesty.
What's the one thing that people in the world love to point out?
Yeah,
there you go. When you spotlight some area of their life that needs to be surrendered to Jesus, you better have your, ducks in a row.
Yeah.
Because they're going to call you out if you're doing the same exact thing.
Even things that you've forgotten about for years. And they'll be like, hey, remember that? How can you remember that? I can't remember that. Another one is, this is a big one. I think we've talked a lot about this over and over again, maintaining sexual purity in our culture. That is probably number one countercultural issue for a lot of us. We've got so many people that are dabbling in this that are sitting in the pews on Sunday.
Yeah.
And they're like,
I can't help it.
It's hard to not have that happen. But in 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18 through 20, the Bible calls Christians to honor God with their bodies and maintain sexual purity. It's pretty clear. But that's in contrast to the culture we live in that promotes sexual freedom and that promotes casual relationships. That you need to go in. It's like a buffet. You got to taste everything and find out what you really like the most, and then you decide. But we in covenant relationship we don't talk like that.
Right.
We're like God's going to lead us to where we need to go. God's going to set that person in front of us, and who God decides, that's what we're going to go with.
It's so amazing when you read the scripture and you do a little extra study on what was going on in the church in Corinthians. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Just blatant, full-on sexual sin going on and calling it even an act of worship towards God. So, we're called for purity. Yeah.
And, it's going to get, it's getting there now. I mean, when you read Barna's statistics on how many people fessed up and said, I'm a Christian, but I'm in a dating relationship and we are sexually active. The numbers are crazy. Yep. I mean, we're like at high 40%.
Yeah, I'm doing a pre-marriage counseling with a couple right now that are both virgins. They're probably in their, low to mid 20s.
Yeah.
And my wife and I mean, our jaw almost hit the floor.
Yeah.
That they're both sexually pure.
Yeah.
And they're virgins, and we're going to be performing their wedding for them, and we're just like so proud of them.
That is such a cool thing, which you don't find often.
Exactly.
That's the thing. Another one, this is another big one, being good stewards of resources is countercultural. Imagine that how you watch what you have is countercultural. And then I'm guilty of not being perfect in that regard. I would like to think that I'm, very good at monitoring my spending in my house and what I purchase and all that stuff. But I still, and I think what's interesting about this one is that we live in a culture right now where there's a lot of reasons why it's hard to do this because of the way the economy is going. But I think even in that still, you can have a sense of good stewardship even with what you do have, even though it's in this environment.
Yeah.
Because I'm not thinking that everybody's going to be debt free. I mean, that'd be perfect. But there are going to be moments where people are going to have to learn how to be better stewards in this situation. Yeah.
Again, I know I'm kind of tooting her horn a lot in this particular episode, but my bride is such a generous person and not locked down by the things of this earth, and she's a giver. And I was hanging out with some people yesterday, and they just commented on what a wonderful giver she is.
Yeah,
that there are other people that are takers or expect other people to bless them, and my wife expects to bless other people.
Right, not be blessed in return.
Correct.
Yeah. I've seen that. I've seen that in her since I met you guys when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
I mean, Wednesdays for youth group, we go over to your house and she'd make a big dinner and
feed 20 people every Wednesday. So she's amazing.
And I don't remember paying anything for that. I just remember showing up to eat. That's all I remember.
Yeah.
Another one is embracing suffering and sacrifice. Again, Jesus taught that following him may involve suffering and sacrifice. It is countercultural because I hate this term. Okay, this is my one term that I hate people use. I'm not a doormat.
Yeah.
I hate that term. Okay. Because it says to me personally that I don't have to go through anything. Okay. Because, I'm a child of the king, so nobody's going to use me for a doormat, emotionally, physically, whatever it may be. Yeah. I'm thinking, expand your thinking just a little bit more to realize that there are moments that you will be, because Jesus said, if somebody slaps you on one side, give them the other cheek. That's a doormat mentality.
It does seem that way, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I know that you participated in the Harbor Light Christian School graduation ceremony last Sunday.
Yes.
And your role was to hand out servant towels to every one of the graduates.
Yes.
Not something you're going to see at every graduation for sure.
Not at all.
Right? But we're going to hand you a towel to put over your arm because we have been called to be servants. And servant mentality it's an act of love, but it can be taken advantage of.
It can be, yeah. You're right.
And we're to let the Lord be the one to square up things.
Yeah, and you've hit it right in the head, right? What does it say? It was in Romans 13 that I'll repay.
Okay.
Evil for evil. I think that's in Romans 13.
Okay.
I might be wrong, so don't quote me on that. But it does say it in Romans that God's going to do
let
the
him
deal.
He's going to get to the revenge if needed.
So I think sometimes when we have those moments where we feel like we're being used, begin to allow God to do the advocating for you. But I think what happens is a lot of times when we do have those moments, we begin to change what we're willing to allow God to use on us.
Yeah.
To give. We kind of hold it back.
That kingdom mentality to say, I'm going to put my trust in the Lord, that he's going to take care of me and he's going to repay what evil has been done to me. That's a kingdom person. That's something that's that's going to fly in the face of culture for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Well, Pastor Gary, we're getting into the keys of the kingdom.
Yeah, the keys of the kingdom. Week. That's where we're going this next week. It's going to be a really good. This particular one would be my one that I'm most excited about.
This is going to be your favorite of the series.
Now I do have some challenges, so I'm going to kind of reach out and ask for some prayers. My computer is in the shop.
What?
Yep. It was time to upgrade, and so you have to turn in your computer so that they can transfer the information from one to the other.
Yeah.
So I've been without my computer now this is my third day. I don't know if you can tell that I'm going through withdrawals.
Yeah, because you didn't even have it with you here.
Yeah, so I just did today, just from the top of my heart.
Normally he's my fact checker.
Yeah.
When I bring up these weird facts.
So just pray that I get that thing back. It's going to be really helpful. And I just enjoy being in the Word, and it's going to be a great time.
Yeah.
I believe that this is going to be the send off. Kind of like the final conclusion, of course. And some big concepts are going to come across. Then we're going to start a series that I just felt like the Lord. We might have a guest speaker coming up on Father's Day. It's still in the works. We'll see. If the guest speaker thing doesn't come through, then I'm going to do a message on a resilient being a resilient dad.
Oh, good.
So that would be a good one. But then I'm going to start a series called Blessings, and it's not going to be. It's going to be how we speak blessings, and how we give blessings towards other people.
Oh, I like that. And that's an important thing to start
from a
working
fatherhood standpoint as well, like speaking blessings over your children and grandchildren. So that just was laid on my heart, and I haven't developed it more than anything. I've only put some ideas together, and that's it.
Yeah. So I think you've said that before, though. I think what's just interesting, you talked about the idea of not speaking your children's life, the negative, and the things that may be residuals from your time growing up, and you speak them into your kid's life, but to break that and start speaking the blessings. And I think, I've heard you talk about that before, and I think it's really good that we go into this series and talk about this and how important it is, because, boy, I tell you, that's needed, especially in families today, to break that previous bondage, those things that were a part of our time growing up in our own homes.
Absolutely.
And saying, hey, you know what? It's not going to happen in this house.
So as we get ready to wrap this up here, just want to kind of say what I did on Sunday, that you're going to see people in the world, they're going to lord their authority over their employees. But among you, it is going to be different.
Yes.
So we're not going to be like the world. We're going to swim against the grain and against the current. So we're going to be countercultural for the name of Jesus Christ.
And can we get any copies of those books you were showing?
That's a hard one to get. They don't give those out to just anyone.
Come on.
I know.
Yeah, I was kind of looking at it. I'm like, I want to read that.
It's tasty, I'll tell you that.
Yeah,
it's got some good stuff in it.
I'd like to read that. All right, well, that's it for us. We'll see you next week. And don't forget to tell a friend about the podcast, pass it on. And thank you in Australia, because we have 8 listeners. We have 8 listeners in Australia. Yeah. I don't know who the heck they are, but thank you for listening.
Good day.
Good day, yeah. And enjoy that Vitamite. Or what is that?
Vegemite?
Vegemite, yeah. Is this Vegemite or not Vitamite?
I think it's Vegemite.
Vegemite, yeah, which it smells really bad. Anyways,
we love you from Australia.
We love you from Australia, all 8 of you who are listening. And we'll talk to you later.
We want you to know, find, discover, change with us. More podcast ending transmission. Now.